More states hit the brakes on their reopening plans as the U.S. hits a record number of new COVID cases for a second straight day. And the CDC says a lot more people may have had the virus than even know it. Here's what you need to know. Good morning. This is Cheddar's Need2Know podcast for Friday, June 26th. I am Jill Wagner with Carlo Versano. Hey, Carlo. Good morning.
Happy Friday, Jill. How are you?
Happy Friday. Let's get to the news. Texas has put its reopening on pause and is moving up to free up hospital beds as its ICUs approach capacity with both COVID and non-COVID patients. Apple is closing nearly all of its stores in Florida as that state's caseload explodes. A different story in New York, though. New York City now on pace to start phase 3 of the reopening, possibly in early July. Meanwhile, the CDC estimates that the real case number of COVID in the U.S., possibly 10 times higher than the official tally of 2.3 million. The CDC director, Robert Redfield, said that probably anywhere from 5 to 8% of the population has been infected.
Yeah, that's incredible. And I wouldn't be surprised if that were true, right? But the other thing, Jill, new infections around the world there's a lot of outbreaks elsewhere too. It's not just us. The difference is a lot of these other countries like Japan, South Korea, Italy seeing a little outbreak. They're doing a better job of stamping out these hotspots than we are. We're not going to go back to a widespread lockdown, I don't think, and nor do I think that we should really, given just how unbelievably economically damaging it is. But we do need to start thinking in a more strategic and targeted approach. And I mean, we've been saying this forever, and there's other people that are saying it too. It's not like it's like rocket science, right? But I'm trying to think of like some things that we can be doing, especially in some of these states in the South, right? Like, let's move more stuff outside. Let's limit things that are clearly potential super spreader events. Anything that involves singing or yelling, for instance, right? Let's turn the air conditioning off. I mean, I know it's easy for me to say here in my air conditioned apartment in New York. I'm not in Phoenix where it's like 120 degrees for the whole summer. But, are there ways to, keep the air conditioning on for an hour, turn it off for an hour, get more open air ventilation going? South Korea is telling people to carry two types of masks, an N95 for when they're in crowded settings and a surgical mask for like regular everyday stuff. Maybe we
I
should be
didn't know.
thinking.
That's so interesting, Carlo. Wow.
Yeah, I mean that's just one of those little things. Like why, maybe that's something that could be helpful because we know the N95s when
We
used
don't
properly.
have enough. I mean, but I spoke to a health official yesterday, even in New York City, and she said they still are struggling to get
I mean, how
PPE.
is that? How is that even? But yeah, I mean, what else? We can focus. We got to focus on neighborhoods, right? Every pandemic starts as a local outbreak, right? Like, how do we, quarantine a certain block without having to affect the entire neighborhood? I mean, I'm not a public health official. These are just things that I'm coming up with off the top of my head. But it would be nice if we heard some of this sort of, creativity coming from our leadership. I saw this flyer the other day in the city. Like a public health sign on a window. And it said, avoid the 3 C's: closed spaces, crowded places, and close contact settings. I thought that was very, very, very well said. And that's going to be my new mantra, the 3 C's.
I like it. And to your
Right.
point, by the way, if you want to compare the U.S. response to other similar countries, Australia is seeing an uptick in cases. They initially got the virus under control very quickly. They discovered 33 new cases. 33. Okay.
Yeah.
Compare that. We have like 25,000 new cases a day right now in this country, maybe 23,000. Okay. So this is in the state of Victoria. That's where Melbourne is. And they are sending the military door to door for what they are describing as a testing blitz. The head of that state says, quote, rather than waiting for an unsustainable number of community transmission to become known, we are going to go literally door to door. We are bringing the public health response to your doorstep. Point being, what's happening in the U.S., if there was if there's a will, there's a way. We could do the same type of thing. This did not need to happen. What's happening here did not need to happen. And I know that we talk about I agree with you. We can't do this widespread shutdown, but again, the health problem and the economic problem go hand in hand. And the fact
Right.
that like the whole idea was, remember they scrapped some of the guidelines. A lot of states opened before they hit the right thresholds, right? With cases going down for 14 days, and there's a reason those protocols exist. To your point, like it's smarter people than you and I put these rules and guidelines in place, so people should follow them. So that for the states to be following them, there's a reason.
No, yeah, of course. Also, Jill, there's a story in the New York Times today that backs up something that we've been saying for weeks now, I think, or I guess maybe not weeks, but a week or two, which is that this peak that we're seeing right now is really being fueled by asymptomatic young people, people in their 20s and 30s. Florida, for instance, the median age for a positive COVID case went from 65 in March to 35 now. That's remarkable. I mean, the good news there again is that those people are less likely to get severely ill. They're not immune from getting severely ill and dying, especially if they have underlying conditions, but they're less likely to get sick and die. The bad news is that they're acting as these transmission vectors within the community, right? So you're going out, you got 25-year-olds going out to the bar, they're getting sick, and then they're spreading it in their households or in their workplaces, right? So the young spread is a really interesting. It's probably the biggest story actually right now, I would say, in this.
Not only that, though, but when you think about what that means, in just as a society, how are we forcing elderly to live right now? I mean, if you're in a nursing home, you
Yeah.
basically are like in isolation because of the strict protocols in place to keep you safe, which it's understandable. But like, are we valuing the oldest people, the oldest
No, is the
Americans right
answer.
now?
Well, especially because these are Joe, we're talking about Arizona, Florida, Texas, like there's a lot of elderly people in these states.
Yeah. And these whatever. Let's move on because the story that we did not mention yesterday, New York City Marathon, now officially canceled. It's scheduled for early November. I've run it 3 times, Carlo, so this is near and dear to my heart.
Were you going to do it this
It's
year?
I wasn't. I haven't run it in a few years, but this is the right decision. It's
Sure.
60,000 runners from across the globe. If you just think about the logistics of that, not to mention it's for early November, which is when experts think this virus is going to come back with a vengeance. So
Right.
probably
Like it hasn't
probably the right
already.
decision.
Yeah. Well, also,
Not that it's
they
gone to to your
yeah,
point.
but they canceled Bonnaroo yesterday. They're moving to, remember a while ago I was talking about how everyone should keep their eyes on this movie Tenet, the big Christopher Nolan movie, because that'll give a sense of, if and when Hollywood is able to sort of get back. They just bumped that movie again to August. I really am starting to wonder if there's going to be any movies this year, or really anything that was supposed to happen, like any sort of events. It's just, I mean, again, like we've said a million times, right? This is just, it's going to turn out to be a lost year, and hopefully just a lost year.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we're just waiting on a vaccine at this
Right.
point. Meanwhile, the number of people filing for first-time unemployment benefits in this country, another about 1.5 million, we found out last week. So that number's held steady at about 1.5 million every week in June. A worrisome sign that perhaps the economic recovery is plateauing. The question now is whether that number will start to rise again if more businesses pause or reverse their reopenings.
Yeah. So go back to high school algebra for a second. You remember what the square root
No,
sign looks like? You
I don't
Can you
want
not
to.
picture it?
Yeah, no, I'm
I
kidding.
know.
Yes,
I,
I could picture
I
it.
know. I know. I already am having like major flashbacks. The reason why people go into journalism is because they are incapable of doing math. That's like the dirty little secret of this industry, right?
Well,
Um,
sorry about that. I just if anyone's watching on YouTube, I moved my laptop.
what was I saying? The square root sign. Yeah. So picture the square root sign in your head. Now flip it. Right. It's. I think it's becoming clear that that's what the recovery is looking like. You have this sharp drop, right, and then you have this bounce back that was not as big, and then you're having this sort of long plateau. I think that's kind of what we should be expecting, and that would be a best case scenario because that would be better than the W, right? Which is the sharp drop, the rebound, and then another sharp drop. So I don't know, but the jobless thing is it's just, I mean, if you told me last year we'd be hitting 1.5 million jobless claims a week in June of 2020, I wouldn't even know what to say.
We're getting, I think the June jobs report, which is out next week. I believe it usually comes out on Fridays, the first Friday of the month, but next Friday
Yeah.
is July 4th, the holiday. So I'm not sure. Maybe it'll
Oh
come
yeah, I
out
don't know how they're
Thursday.
doing it.
Um, but I think that that's going to be hugely important because the May number, if you remember, was so high, so much beat expectations on the upside. And look, there was like a kind of like a victory lap being taken, like, oh, we're done, America's back. But
Yeah.
let's see what happens. And I'm hoping that we get a good report as well. But
There's just so
these
many
numbers
unknowns.
don't point to that. Yeah. Verizon, by the way, the latest and the largest company to join that Facebook and Instagram advertising boycott. Um, it's a serious blow to Facebook, which has been working behind the scenes to contain this revolt. The hashtag Stop Hate for Profit campaign is demanding that Facebook take more concrete steps to guard against hate speech and misinformation, particularly surrounding President Trump and some of his tweets. That seems to be the big cause for concern amongst a lot of people.
His posts. He tweet when he tweets things, he generally posts them, he cross posts them to Facebook. So like when you see
Exactly.
it,
Right.
right. Um, but it is bigger than that also. A lot of this has to do with the conspiracy theories that are just running rampant across Facebook right now. Look, I think Verizon joining this is significant insofar as it's symbolic because again, Verizon is a huge company and a huge advertiser, but $2 million a month on. I looked into this yesterday. Verizon spent $2 million a month to combined on Instagram and Facebook ads last month. That's a lot of money, but it's Facebook makes $6 billion a month, so you would have to have a lot of advertisers come out for this for it to be meaningful in terms of actually like hitting Facebook's bottom line. It's actually small businesses that really drive Facebook advertising, which I hadn't realized. So if you really wanted to make an impact, you would need like every Joe's Pizza to stop advertising on Facebook, but they can't do that, right? Because Facebook's like the only game in town at this point. But look, when it comes to Facebook, even the best thing you can do for your mental health is to delete Facebook and severely limit your time on Instagram. I know that I've said that in the past, but I speak from experience. It's true. The thing is a misery box. It is designed to make you feel bad about yourself and to infect people with bad information. And just get rid of it. You will thank me. You will thank yourself for doing it.
I felt better at the beginning of the year I can't believe that was the beginning of this year. Remember you
I know,
encouraged
right?
me
Yeah,
to
yeah.
delete my Instagram account, and I did. Now I feel like I'm kind of back. And I do think that social media does give you this little community. And there's upsides and downsides, right? Because like during the quarantine when you can't really see anyone, you
Yeah,
kind
of
of go
course.
on, but you do now it's like with FOMO and how did they get such a nice sunset? It's raining by me. I mean, it's
Yeah, right.
different things that people are doing, but
Well, I
and
just think
great.
there's ways to use it. There's ways to use it responsibly, and I mean, I have an Instagram account, right? But what I don't do, when I have a spare 5 minutes, I don't start scrolling through it. I use it very strategically. Where if I want to post a picture that I took, I will, or see something like if I want to see your daughter, if I want to like show you my wife like the latest picture of your daughter, I'll bring up your Instagram, but I won't do just like the mindless scrolling.
Actually, Carlo, and I'm not trying to correct you publicly here. As you know, I seldom post pictures of my daughter on Instagram.
That is
I
true.
actually
That is true.
send those to you direct via text
Yeah, yeah,
message.
you're right. You're right. Actually, I guess I'm thinking about all the other. That's
I'm
usually
not
how I
a
see. How I see most of my friends' babies. So there is some
Yeah,
value in
that's
it. I
not
get. I
mine.
mean, I get that. Yeah.
No, I actually make a point of just not posting pictures of her, just
Yeah.
because
Why?
she's
I
not
mean, why
giving
would?
me permission to do it. So
I respect that. I really do. And why should Facebook monetize your daughter?
Great point. Okay, by the way, Amazon bought the naming rights to Seattle's Key Arena, but instead of naming it Amazon Arena or Amazon Prime Center, um, Jeff Bezos announced that it will be called the Climate Pledge Arena. He wrote on Instagram that the name will be a reminder of the quote urgent need for climate action. The arena is going to be the first net zero carbon stadium in the world. I was laughing not because of what they're doing. I actually applauded. I was just laughing because I the thought of that being called Amazon Prime Center is just too much for me to take.
It wouldn't even there's some really bad stadium names out there. The Quicken Loans Arena, that's probably one of my favorites. Um, Look, I mean, yeah, this is great and all, but Amazon, they have a mixed at best environmental record. So I think I applaud the symbolism, I guess, but it's a little bit insulting. I mean, Amazon is like, how many times have you gotten an Amazon delivery where it's like a huge box and there's like a tiny little thing in it? Does that happen to you? To other
Of
people?
course, it's
It's the
terrible.
worst. It makes me feel so guilty. I'm like, should I have done something different? I mean, yeah, I guess I shouldn't have got this on Amazon. Or like it'll be a box and there'll be another box inside. But I don't know. One thing that I have been doing actually with Amazon, I don't get that much from Amazon, but when I do the they have this is only in New York, I don't know, but they have an option to do like a single day delivery. You know what I mean? So like if you're getting like 4 or 5 different things, you can get them delivered on the same day, which is at least a little bit helpful, sustainable, but you know.
So I'm living with my in-laws right
Yeah.
now, and my father-in-law, like he just doesn't like clutter. And
Hmm.
we have so much stuff here. I mean, we have it's like boxes and boxes of stuff, and we're half in storage, half in here. So you can imagine what that looks like. And every day there's a new package coming for either me or my husband, and it's like we try to grab it from the front door before he could see it because he's
Right.
just like, "What else? Like what? There's no room. What
What could
else are
you
you guys
possibly?
ordering?"
Yeah. You sound like my
Uh,
parents.
by the way, that arena, the Amazon arena, not the only thing getting a makeover right now. Disney is completely rebranding and retooling its classic Splash Mountain ride at both Disney World and Disneyland. This is amid pressure over the ride's ties to the controversial 1946 movie Song of the South. This new ride is going to be built around The Princess and the Frog. It's that 2009 animated film featuring Disney's first ever Black princess.
Yeah, they had been. They said that they've been. This has been in the works for a while. And there's been a lot of pushback on this ride for some time now. Also, speaking of these rebrandings, the Dixie Chicks, Jill, the Dixie Chicks. Remember them? They're changing their names to simply the Chicks. After 30 years together, the socially conscious country trio say that the Dixie connotations with the Mason-Dixon line and sort of like the antebellum South are no longer appropriate. By the way, you want to really be enraged about something? Go into a wiki hole on the Dixie Chicks and what they said about the Iraq War in 2003. They were essentially, they came out in against the Iraq War before it started, and they were essentially blacklisted from the entire like music industry. It's a remarkable story to look back on. That's just always how I remember them.
I think that they said that they were embarrassed that Trump, excuse me, that Bush, who was the president at the time, was from Texas, maybe, and I think they're from Texas. But
Yeah.
I actually really like their music. And Taylor Swift, she has a documentary on Netflix, and she's become a little bit more political recently, and
Hmm.
she says it was really hard for her to make that decision, and her family was like, you cannot become political, do not tweet anything endorsing candidates, and they said, look what happened to the Dixie Chicks, like you
Oh, yeah, I
cannot
remember that.
do
Yeah,
that.
yeah. But you know
uh
what? That just shows you how different times are. Even that was only what 17 years ago, and now it's almost incumbent on a lot of artists to speak out on things.
no, it's a great point. All right, let's do a little bit of love hate eight to end things on a Friday. Carlo, kick it off.
Okay, love. One thing we love: hand sanitizer keychains. Okay, so these are like the lamest things, and I used to actively make fun of people when I would see like you carrying like a keychain with a little Purell bottle on it. But I gotta say, man, they have become real useful, and I had one myself, and I would clip it to my little belt loop. And yeah, I really I turned on these things. Hand sanitizer, keychains, the way to go.
One thing that we hate, that the days are already getting shorter. We barely got to enjoy the climb this year.
It's
Carlo, it's
true.
it's so sad.
Yeah, everything like we've been saying, everything this year is just a lost cause. Like we had a pretty nice spring actually, but you barely even
We did.
got to enjoy it. Okay, and Jill, one thing that we ate, and I'm a little bit embarrassed to say this because it's legitimately true this week. Uh, a quart of Trader Joe's speculoos cookie butter ice cream. Are you familiar with this stuff?
I'm actually not.
It's so dangerous. I went to Trader Joe's. I did my first Trader Joe's run in months last weekend, and it's like it's a huge production. But again, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It's just how they have to do it here. But it's 45-minute wait to get inside. But one of the things that I was had my eye on was this ice cream, and I got it and I ate it, and that's that.
Good for you, Carlo.
Yeah,
Own
good
it.
for me. You're right. That's me. Just doing my part.
It's your civic duty to eat ice cream.
Cookie butter ice cream too.
What is it? Like a cookie dough or just
It's like
like
a
ice cream needs
ginger
any more
snap.
butter?
Yeah, it's like an ice cream that has this like ginger snap, like peanut butter kind of thing in it almost. Yeah, it's amazing.
All right. Well, on that note, sounds yummy. Hope everyone has a great weekend. That's what you need to know for Friday, June 26th.
Thanks, folks. And don't forget youtube.com/Cheddar Live if you want to watch these in living color.